Hey everybody, welcome to the VB Toolbox. In this tutorial we'll be working with MDI Forms, also known as Multiple Document Interface Forms, which essentially allows us to create a form within a form in your VB application. It's pretty cool. Special thanks to my friend Devin for bringing up this topic. I thought it'd be a good tutorial. So when we're done, I hope to have something that looks similar to this. So what you can see is we get forms within our main form. It's kind of cool. So you see this effect in a lot of different applications out there. It's definitely a neat effect. They can be minimized and maximized within your main form. So anyway, that's where I want to go with this. I should do a little playing around, make some other neat effects like this where I kind of snap it to one side or the other. But mainly I just want to show you how to do this, and we'll try to cover this topic as quickly as I can. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to generate a new project. And we will start by giving our project a name. I'm just going to call mine MDI Forms. And click OK. Make sure that's a Windows Forms application. And I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Stretch my main form out here a little bit. So the first thing that we need to do with our parent form to actually allow it to have child forms within it, the child MDI forms, is to enable the property. So I got to stretch this out a little bit. We need to find the is MDI container property. Hopefully you can see that okay. And we want to set that to true. And as soon as we do that, we notice that you know, this kind of gains some depth to it. And now it's actually a container for child forms. And there's a couple of ways to go about generating these child forms. You can either add multiple forms to your project, or you can generate them from code. I'll try to cover this in both ways in this tutorial. So let's go ahead and start by adding first an additional form to our project. This is actually probably the best way to go about it because you get a lot more control. Well, I wouldn't say you have more control, but you certainly, it makes it easier to dictate to your application what your child form will contain. Of course, you can do it all, you know, within your code, but it's a lot more work to add all your buttons and events and stuff through your code instead of doing it through an actual form. So let's go ahead and right click on our project header in the Solution Explorer, and we will add a Windows form. And we can just call this form something like FRM child to, whoops, and hit OK. You can name it whatever you like. Just remember that name for when we begin adding features to it. Okay, so let's go. Okay, let's just test this out here. We'll jump back to our main form here, and you can double click on your form or press F7 to go into your code editor here. And what I want to do is find the form shown a class, or the form shown method or event, sorry. And so we can execute when we start up our form here. And in here, I'm going to just dim a variable here, and I'm going to call it FRM2 as a new instance of our new form here, FRM child 2. All right. So now we have a new instance of this form, and that makes it reusable. We can just do this as many times as we want. So we can do FRM 2 dot, and here we have to set the MDI parent of that child form. We have to tell it who the parent is. So find the MDI parent property and set that to be equal to, hello, where are you? Okay. to be equal to me. Okay, and me references the form, the main form that we're working from. Okay, so we declared a new instance of our child form and then gave it a parent. And the parent has to be an MDI container. Okay, and then once we have that, all we have to do is say frm2.show, and when this shows up, we should have a form within a form. So that's all there is to it. You can stop watching now if you want, or we can go on and make this more fun and engaging. All right, so how about we add a menu strip up here to add more forms in code. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Come back to my MDI parent here. Find the menu strip. Drag that onto here, and let's say I want to add some more forms. Just gonna say I want to add a red form. Okay, so I'm gonna say add red form, and we'll just double click on that, and now we'll be able to code for the click event for that option. Now we have to actually have something to do here, so before we actually add anything here, I'm going to add a sub to create forms as we go, so we can add new forms on the fly really easily. So I'm going to create a reusable method here. I'm going to say public sub add form, and something, some properties we want to supply for our new form are going to be a name, maybe some text up in the corner, and a background color for it. So any properties that you want to supply, you can do through these parameters. You can say as a string, and also the form color also as a string. And much like we did up here, we'll say dim new form as a new form. Now this time I'm creating a generic form from scratch instead of calling upon the one that we added to our solution. So this just, creates it completely new with no presets. So let's say new form. Let's give it some properties. We'll specify the name, and we'll set this to the name parameter that we added above. And we'll also supply the text property, which will show up in the title bar of the form. So I'll say new form dot text equals also name, and here we'll specify the background color of the new form. We'll say new form dot back color equals color dot from name, and we will specify FRM color from our parameter up here. So we're actually going to grab the color instead. I mean, there's different ways that you can specify colors. The easiest way is to supply presets. So, you could just specify any of these preset colors, but this makes it a little more fun and dynamic. If you specify a color that doesn't exist, it may throw an error at you. But most standard colors you can select. So we can just say color dot from name and provide a string as the name. And finally, just like we did above, we want to specify who this form's parent is. So we'll say new form dot MDI parent equals me. Now if we make this public, set the access level to public, that means that if we have other forms, we can actually reference back to this method from those forms as well and call it from there. So so now we can do new form dot show to make it visible. All right. So now that we have this, let's test it out by going to our menu strip item, click event, and we'll say add form, and let's call it red form, and we'll set the color to be red. So hopefully when we start this up, we will have this, and then we should be able to add a red form. Sweet. How many of those can we? Oh, we can keep adding them. How awesome is that? So we can just create these on the fly as desired. You could even programmatically add buttons to its own container, its control container, and do all kinds of crazy stuff with these if you want. You can use them for dialogues or anything else. Again, it's going to be way easier to actually, customize your form in the visual editor than trying to create them programmatically. So let's try some others here. Let's add another menu option. Say purple. Oops, sorry, got cut off there. Say purple form. I guess we should be consistent, huh? Oh well. Carry on. Just add form. Purple form. I'm going to put a space in here. I think it will actually allow spaces just fine. So supply the color purple and see what happens when we do that. Bring that over. Got our red form. Got our purple form. So, hey, that's pretty fun. Throw one more in here just for fun. Okay. Kind of get the picture. Add form. Green form. I don't think those are case sensitive. Let's try it with a lowercase. See what happens. Oh, worked just fine. So they're not, the colors aren't case sensitive. All right. So let's add another menu strip item here to close all of the forms that are visible. Except if we have one called the control panel. Okay, so we're gonna use this child form as a control panel that we can keep visible all the time, but we can dynamically just loop through all of the visible forms on the page and kill them all. So I'm going to say close all forms. And in here, what we can do is we can access our main forms MDI children container that stores all of the visible forms. We'll say me.mdi children, and we'll copy that to a list so we can do a nice quick lambda expression on this. Keep it on one line. We'll say for each, and here we'll provide our lambda expression for each sub f, being for each form found in the MDI children's container, if not f.name equals control panel, then f.close. So let's test this out. So for every form that is found in the MDI children container on my main form, if its name property that we specify up here is not control panel, then close that form. red form, purple form, green form. Close them all. Boom, they're gone. Sweet. Okay, so that's neat. If you're using an older version of Visual Basic.NET, such as older than 2010, so 2008 and former, you'll have to, instead of doing a lambda expression, you can do the exact same thing using a for each, for each form in MDI children. So you're not limited to a lambda expression if you can't use that. But if you're using 2010 or later, you should be able to use lambda expression for your loop. And so let's see. Let's go ahead and create our control panel form. So much in the same way that we did the first one here, right here. Instead of doing this, what we could do is add a menu option, show control panel, and we'll just recycle this guy. So I'm going to take that and put it down here. But we're going to add a few more properties to it. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll say frm2.name equals control panel. Helps to be able to spell. And frm2.text property equals, and because this is going to be visible, I want it to have a space, so I'm going to say control panel. And we could try playing with some of the other properties here. Let's just test this. Say frm2 dot left equals me dot width. Okay, that's the width of our main form minus the width of our new form. So whatever its size is, it'll subtract that from the width of our main form and hopefully snap it onto the right. So say frm2.width. And let's, so it's going to show it when we're done here. So let's go ahead and just test that out real quick. Show our control panel. Yeah, it didn't work as well as I'd hoped. Not a huge deal. Notice that our close all forms no longer affects these control panels. It affects all the other ones. I'm sure that there's a way that you can specify the properties of your new in here. I wonder if it matters where this is at. Let's try setting this below the show method. Like maybe it has to be shown before we can actually change that property. Ah, that's what it was. Okay. So when you want to change some of the properties, they have to be done before the form or after the form has already been initialized and shown. So that's worth noting. Notice how it also kind of sticks it over the edge. In here, we're not accounting for the new form's margins, the old form's margins, the parent's margins or padding or anything like that. So if you wanted, you could either manually do it or factor in the margins and padding of the other forms to snap it in more precisely. Should be about 20 pixels, I would think. Yeah, so that's almost perfect. So that snapped it right in there. Each time we move this, it should snap to the right edge. So that's pretty cool. If you wanted, you could even throw some other, checking code in there, so you couldn't add more than one control panel form. you could loop through it like we did here and say, if this form already exists, then don't add it, otherwise add it, something like that. I'll leave that up to you. I don't want to get too deep into this. So what if we want to call more forms from out, here we're calling these forms from our main form. What if we wanted to call them from one of our child forms, actually get some interaction between the children and the parent? So let's go ahead and jump into our child form here, and we'll add some controls. Let us just add some buttons here. I'm just gonna take this one. I'm not even gonna bother changing the names on these. Purple. We already have purple. Let's do blue. Blue. I'm just gonna copy this button. You can right click and copy, or Control C and Control V. I just want a couple of buttons here to test these. I guess we've already, if we can do orange, that'd be an interesting one. Okay. And so let's double click on our blue button here and call back to our main form. We'll call it, because we're no longer working in there, we won't be using me. Instead, we'll call it by its name, Form1. And we can, because we set the access level to public on our add form method, we can access that from here. And we can call up blue form with the color of blue, hopefully. Let's just try that. Give me my control panel. There's our buttons. Yay! So now I can add blue forms from my control panel box here. So let's just play around with that a little more here. We'll add an orange one, see if it likes orange. I'm just going to copy and paste this down here. Say, whoop, orange form. Orange. Fire it up for fun. Yay! It's kind of a weird orange. I don't know. Maybe it's my monitor colors. It almost looks like a burnt yellow. Anyway, so that's working just fine and dandy. What else could we do here? I had a little button here to snap to the right side. Some more things that we could add to our control panel. Where are you? Okay, so let's grab another button here. I'm just going to copy and paste this. And I'm going to throw it up in the corner right here. And I will just change the text property on that to be a little arrow pointing right to indicate that when we click it, it should snap to the right. Probably gonna need, yeah, let's what we'll do is we'll go back to our main form here into the code, and we'll add another sub, and I'm gonna call that public sub snap right. And what we can do is make this more dynamic by allowing us to snap any of the forms that we so choose by their name. So whatever name they have, we can say name as string, and then we can just run a nice little lambda here. What we'll do is we'll loop through the MDI children again, copy it to a list so we can use the for each expression, and use our sub. So each child form found in our MDI children, we'll say if f.name equals name, then f.left will equal me.width, minus f, being the child form, dot width, and we'll do the minus 20 to factor in the borders of the form and whatnot. And we'll jump back to our child form and call this snap right from here. So where's my button? So we'll double click on that button to generate the click event. And all we have to do is call back home. We'll say call form1 dot snap right, and we will reference whatever FRM child 2's name is. So we'll say me.name so this should at this point only affect our child forms. Let's test it. I'm gonna move that just a little ways. Boom, snaps back in. Move this out a little bit. Snaps back in. That works nicely. What if we move this guy over here? Snaps back in. So now we have some individual control for our control panel. So it's kind of like artificial docking, I guess. It's kind of fun anyway. So using that, you could do all sorts of different effects between all of our MDI forms. I mean, you can reference these from each other or reference the parent from the child and vice versa. So I mean, at that point, I mean, there's really nothing you can't do. And all you have to do is just loop through the children and exclude them or sort them or, you know, filter them any way that you like to change their properties and whatnot. So that's really all there is to it. We could adjust some of the other properties. Let's see. What if we wanted to set blue width? Okay. Change the property of a specific kind of form. We could come here and we could say, instead of calling back to form 1, we could say whatever the MDI parent of the form is, find that parent's children, grab the to list so we can do our lambda for each sub f if say if f name equals blue form, then f dot width equals 500. So cycle through all the children in the container, find any forms whose name is blue form, and change the width of that form to 500 pixels wide. Let's see if that works. We don't have any blue forms on this, so we need our control panel. All right. What happens if we set blue width? Look at that. Blue just got resized. We could shrink that back down. Set blue width. Boom. All right. We could also, notice how we're, you know, going up and down in our Z index here. You could change any of the properties of this form, anything you want, including, you know, if it's the topmost form or if it's got focus or really, yeah, anything. So really that's all there is to this. MDI forms are really cool. You can make some really neat applications with this, and it's actually you actually see quite a few of them. It's fun to play with anyway. Anyway, I hope this tutorial has been helpful for you. Sorry for dragging it out longer than I probably should have. I wish you all well on your applications, and let me know what you think of this tutorial. Thanks. Have a good one.